What's going on, guys? Everett 13 here. Quiet carry drift, near perfect EDC knife. So why is it leaving my collection? Let's get into it. This is a great knife. I'm gonna come out and say it right up front. This is a great knife that is probably gonna be a perfect knife for a lot of people. So I let off and said, why is it leaving my collection? Well, because of these knives right here. So if you look here, we've got a Hinderer, some Medfords, and the Spidey Chef. What all do these have in common that, would kick this guy out? Well, they're just a little bit bigger. All of these are a little bit bigger. On any given day, 99% of days, if you were to find me and ask me what was in my pocket, it would be one of these knives. And if it wasn't one of these knives, it would be one that was about the same size as these guys. Now, that's not a knock against the drift. That's just a personal preference. I've got size large hands, as far as glove size is concerned. A little bit bigger frame, bigger than average. I'm 6'2", athletic build. And the drift, I would say, would almost be my perfect knife if it was about a ½ inch bigger. So right before, I send this guy off, I felt like I needed to put a video out just so somebody else who's contemplating this knife would have, this information to make a decision on. Either which way, rather to avoid it or to get it. Now, for a lot of people, I think this is going to be a very good choice. Very good choice. You've got good action, Van Axe steel, titanium handles. Lock bar insert is LC200N, and I believe all of the hardware is also titanium. So what you've got here is a lightweight, virtually rust-proof or corrosion-resistant knife. You can throw this thing in gym shorts and go jogging and get this thing sweaty. It's not going to rust. If you're working on a boat, or you like to fish a lot, or if you're a diver, there's a lot of uses for a knife that's not going to rust. It's a huge appeal. And Van Axe, the claim to fame with Van Axe is it's also got some very good steel properties, edge retention, toughness. A lot of the earlier knives that were rust-proof or corrosion resistance, they didn't really have a good blade. The blade steel properties were lackluster in other areas, right? Van Axe solves that, gives you really good properties in addition to being virtually rust-proof or corrosion resistant. So this is a great knife. Maybe the guys over at Quiet Carry will see this. I would love to see a slightly bigger version of this. Now, I'm not talking anything crazy. Like I said, give me a 1/4 to a ½ inch bigger overall. Just scale this thing up a 1/4 to a ½ inch, and I think you've got not only another option, but for me, a darn near perfect EDC option. I find myself carrying something like the XM18 most days. The XM18, for those of you guys who don't know, is virtually about the same size as the Paramilitary 2. So if you've got a Paramilitary 2, just imagine this is, a Paramilitary 2. They're virtually going to line up the same size. So you kind of get an idea of the size of the drift. And the same is going to go, that's going to be a common theme here. Every one of these knives are going to be about that same size. The Slim Midi's got just a little bit shorter handle, but the blade is going to be, overall the profile is going to be a little bit bigger, right? The handles are pretty similar in size, but that blade is about, I think on this one, about a ½ inch bigger. I carry the Slim Midi a ton. And I know that if the drift was just a little bit bigger, I would probably carry the Drift instead of the Medford. Now, guys, that is saying something right there. I'm putting this knife in a league with some big American names, right? Hinderer, Medford, and, you know, Spyderco here. Now, this knife, the Spidey Chef, beats out the Drift because the Drift's claim to fame is corrosion resistance, right? Well, going back to what I just said, if the Drift was just a little bit bigger, I would carry it probably all the time. Well, the Spidey Chef's claim to fame is it's virtually rust-proof, virtually corrosion-resistant. In fact, the blade steel on the Spidey Chef is the same LC200N that the Drift is using on the lock bar insert. Granted, the Van Axe is going to be an upgraded steel over the LC200N, but the whole idea here is that, you know, if I'm wanting to carry a knife for its corrosion resistance properties, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to reach for the Spidey Chef instead of the Drift. And that's purely because of a preference of the size. Not because it's necessarily better, but because of the size preference. So, Quiet Carry Drift. Guys, this could be the perfect EDC knife for a lot of people. It very well could be. It could be the perfect EDC knife for me if it was just a hair bigger. So, Quiet Carry Drift. Check it out, guys. If you got any questions, comments, you know, ask them down in the section. I'll be sure to try to get to them as quickly as possible. But guys, if you are considering a knife that's got these properties, you've got to give the Drift a look. It very well could be the perfect knife for you. Take care, guys.